Conducting the chop and drop on young forest systems to sculpt them and really guide them in the process. Like we can see here, so yesterday I was here and we basically we'll just run through, we see the mulberry here and we see another pawpaw here. And there's one here that has a slight curve in it. So that's already telling us that it wants to try and get up and over. So yesterday we snapped all this to open up that pocket of sunlight. So one dynamic you can do if you want to prevent grass from moving in this case the design of the system is quite wide, so it already has that nice dark forest ecology in the middle, so that's producing like a bit of a fungal rich environment, and the grass doesn't actually want to be in there. It's like a bit of a positive and a negative side of the battery repelling each other. But if you do have an edge and you want to expand the forest out, or you don't care about mess, which obviously this is not mess, this is beauty, this is elegance, this is art, but we can see here we can snap down, and if you keep it attached, if you keep that one's clearly not attached, but if you keep them attached here or even bend there, and when you snap them you keep a point attached there, that will actually still be alive. And you can already see green shoots on here after we snapped them yesterday. You've got green shoots coming through here, another little green shoot coming through there, so that will actually create this black angle to bolster up that corner and stop the grass from coming in. So yeah, when you chop and drop and sculpt, we're thinking about the process, thinking about our target species, we have fruit production, and where we want to open up to let light in for them and for them to bolster up and take the space. Right, so when we're taking it out, we want to take it out but leave piles around like we have here, because we're going to need to chop back into that and put that organic matter back on. So coming out, the next step is, right, you want to clean up any of these lowers just to lift them up, and all of this is contributing to pulsing the space with growth hormones, but that's going to free it up. So now that when all this surge comes back in, you get this light, that surge comes in, you're not going to get any vines or whatever trying to climb on at that lower point. So it helps just pick them all up and free up the bottom and produce airflow and just keep a nice clean ground. So either two dynamics. One, you either care about the weeds, right? No such thing as weeds. They're all repair plants. They're catching carbon, nitrogen, biology, feeding insects, right? But, okay, let's just say the weeds. We can remove those physically with a machete or a knife to clean up the space, or you just don't have to at all. But if you do, you want to take them in and find your fruit producer, or if you're not, like these root systems are going to be throughout this whole bed. So my dynamic is just throw it in there, who cares, they'll get it, especially when you're at this abundant stage. But in the early days, if you need to, you chop that organic matter and you take it in and you nestle it underneath your mulch around your target species. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean all this up now.
So do you do this for a living?
What's that?
You do this for a living?
Some would say that, I guess, yeah. Live to do this.
Grow a lot of what I have to grow, so that I don't have to bring in mulch and other things. So the point is, the bananas are full of biomass, so sometimes they go to full trees which produce, otherwise I just chop them out. But it's also putting the blue quandongs in, which will obviously put roots down and bring up the moisture, along with the pawpaws and other gums or eucalypts that are put in. So that's the whole point of the system. To bring that biomass and then have the different plants working together to produce the sweet potato on the ground as again as a root crop, and then my more valuable tree of the avocado, which is at the moment a bit under the canopy, is happy being in the system. Farm mix goes in on, the biomass goes on, I'll plant some of those seedlings that you saw me down at the house growing. I'll now come and plant these in here to get an actual food crop while this all comes back in time. So
Bring all this biomass down. What tree is this? Did you plant this one?
yes, I couldn't tell you the name at the moment. I have to check my book.
Continue cleaning up, freeing up. Now ready for the next step, which is chuck a little bit of food in there because it's hungry. So that nice steam coming out, that's a bit of the farm mix. Little tad of extra chicken manure in there for that nitrogen kick and to stimulate that forest ecology, because the forest and the chicken are one unit. You don't need a lot of it. About 2 buckets. If you have any target species, you can hit them too. Come in a little bit heavier on target species there. Here. Then a little silky oak up the back. Gonna speed them up. That's that phase done. That's gonna help put the nutrition back in, speed everything up, and introduce new fresh biology. So biomass reorganisation is putting the organic matter back on. It's all going to be touching the ground. It can't be sticking up like this. If the air gets to that, it's just going to dry it out. It's not on the ground. When it's on the ground, the microbes have access to it. And you can see here, it's nice and moist, and you can see the fungus is actually in there as well as root systems. So we need to mimic that, and we need to get it on the ground. Quickest, cheapest, easiest, fastest. Come in. And that's it. If you get a lot of space in there, you can drag it in there and do it. But because there's pioneers and pigeon peas, support species everywhere, it's easy to chop it like that and just take it in. Give it a wee stomp down. And work your way through. This has come out of this section, so we're going to be putting it back into this section, and that way we get even distribution. So have you had any luck with avocados?
No, not necessarily ones that I bought, but there was one that I lost after I bought. Obviously didn't plant it quite right, but we often shop at Farmer & Son in Gympie, and just planted one of their avocado seeds, and now I've got a 25-30 centimetre plant up and out after planting it in some of the red soil organic potting mix. So really,
Nice.
really stoked that in the same spot I've now got an avocado tree that's happy with where it's at.
There's a little rainforest tree coming up here, and an avocado that's died and coming back there. So there's a tree there, tree here. So at the moment our access path is through here. So you want to just think about how you're going to walk in and manage everything. So that's a pretty good pathway there. And then out here, so obviously you don't want to plant anything in that space because you walk into it. So we got this hub here, got a nice sprinkler here, fairly good dappled light. So ginger is a low light crop. It naturally grows in the understory of forest systems. So we're just going to open up our hole. The soil should be soft enough here to get it in by hand with the agroforestry. Not quite the Red Soil Organics demonstration site, but we'll get there. Alright, and then we're coming in with our ginger into that system, get all that organic matter around it, down, and then we can come in with whatever compost you have available, or the farm mix in this case, and just give it a really good boost. There's no point planting anything and not giving to it on planting, and then expecting it to give back to you. So we've got to make sure we keep it fed and give it that little kick that it needs. And then again, just getting that all through that plant residue, trying to inoculate that surface with a pigeon pea, really get things cranking, put the biology in and speed up humus. Even in the walkways, the whole system is connected. Now questions, Hans. Questions.
So, given this little system that we've chopped back and dropped,
Yeah.
you've put some ginger in. Would you add any other plants, be it trees or anything else, to fill it in?
At this stage, you could treat it as one big vegetable garden, and you could plant kale, lettuces, tomatoes, cucumbers or peas on the pigeon pea to climb up here, even string some little strings across to give them a sprawl beneath all that. If you want vegetable production, if you need space, or you want to get a bit of money back, financial value back off the system and feed the family. If you've got food elsewhere, then you can do things like lemongrass, arrowroot, taro, sweet potato, that kind of low growing, low light plants that you can put in here. Anything, it could be coleus, ornamental gingers, just whatever. And then you'll chop them as well and feed them into the system. So you get biomass off the top and biomass off the bottom. So you could do that system if you wanted to. It's just totally depends on what you want out of the system. You can chop and change it how you want.
Now, in regards to this chop and drop, does this need to happen again in 12 months, 6 months? How long does this sort of feed the soil and these plants?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of greenery here. That's obviously going to shrink down. But again, we've got that fungal breakdown element happening, so weeds or grasses aren't going to really want to move into the space. But that will give you a buffer, and then these will start shooting back and put on canopy again. And within about 6-7 months, it'll look like it did at the start. Big pigeon pea bushes. So at that stage, you can chop again and drop it, and that keeps a relatively good cycle. I feel like this is a pretty good density of pigeon pea. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pigeon peas in about 9 square meters, and that looks like a pretty good density. But you know, it depends. If you don't have as many pigeon peas, you just got a little bit of leaf matter and you chuck compost on there, then just smash the seedlings all into that and completely green out the floor with vegetables. So they'll become your living mulch canopy. Yeah.
Watering. This sort of chop and drop will hold the moisture in a lot?
Yeah, it definitely will. Obviously microbes need moisture, and the microbes live at that layer where that organic matter meets the ground, so that's about 150 odd mil. They will live in that surface. That is part of their home. And we've put microbes here, we've put microbes on the bottom, so it's treated as a compost system. So it needs, it's got good airflow already. You've got green matter, you've got thick lignin brown matter, and so those microbes are going to go hyperdrive on that surface, utilize the air and convert this into humus very fast, and that is what holds water in the space, and that's how a forest works. Obviously you've got other dynamics like leaf structure up here and the dew landing on here, and the dew landing in between all that structure, and then that dew will naturally accumulate from the structured mulch on this ground. And people underestimate dew, but it's actually accounts for about 60% of a forest need for water. So if you turn around in this system here, this is a classic example of like a very hardcore energy harvesting system. You've got all different layers of sunlight in here, and you've got nitrogen fixers in here, you've got things holding on to water, you've got things, trees opening up the ground and letting water through, and then also letting water up. You've got very high density here, you've got different structures, and you've got another high density on the floor. So that structure, if you think about dew, and the sun is what takes the dew away, there's no sun making it into here. So you've got a lot of dew coming into the system. So you need far less water than you would if you're doing it in a conventional garden setting. Although when you plant seeds or seedlings, obviously you need to keep that moisture level up to get them established until they get down into the system.
Alright, so I have a question. So if you're wanting to put vegetable seedlings,
Yeah.
traditionally you would put soil down to put the seedlings into.
Yes.
But do you have to with this, or do you just dig down into the microbe?
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, you get your wild organic matter out of the way, and then you just, this technique's called pocket planting. You open that up, and that's your natural soil level there,
Okay.
and then you can dig into that.
So you can put your tomato seedlings
Yeah.
and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, straight into that material.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful and rich looking.
Or if it's tough and you know, you can put a handful of compost, good finished compost, and then you've got a composted hole, and you can just put your seedling in through that.
Do you-
close up on that.
Do you grow your own seedlings, or is it okay just to buy seedlings and use those?
Yeah, so I sometimes I grow my own seedlings, but I don't really do that anymore. So I'll do that, and I'll put it in there. I'll put the seeds in there, and then they'll sprout up through that. But if I'm in a pinch, I use a local organic supplier, Seedlings. She's a really cool lady, and I'll do it in that method, and I'll just put them in. If you use conventional seedlings, there's fungicides, there's all sorts of fertilizers in there. So you put it into an organic system, and all the microbes around that seedling die, and then those chemicals are going to get locked up and metabolized before the plant can actually grow. So, you know, you need to give them a lot of compost to overcome that, but it will take time, and there'll be a lag for that to start growing. There'll be a microscopic poisoning of your
Now
life.
that's interesting. But finding
Yeah.
organically grown seedlings is not that easy, is it?
It's not, but your best place is Facebook Marketplace. You
Okay.
can find growers on there, or the Diggers Club.
Yep.
They're probably about the cleanest you can get through, like Bunnings or
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the heritage seedlings and
Yeah,
all that sort of
that's
stuff.
right.
Okay,
They're always
that's
much
good.
better.
And you don't necessarily have to do it in a line. It can just sort of.
That's totally up to you. You can do it as straight organised lines or lines through it. Make a pattern, an X, a love heart, or just plant them randomly. It's totally up to the creator.
Wow.
Creator of the garden, that is.
Creator of the garden.